You are listening to the new man, beyond the macho jerk and the new age wimp. Your host is men's coach Tripp Lanier.
If you had a young family and needed money, would you start a heavy metal record label to pay the bills? Can you learn wisdom from a Jimi Hendrix lookalike junkie sitting on a park bench in the middle of the night? And what would it be like if Metallica was living in your basement? Jon Zazula and his wife Marsha are legends in the metal music industry. With Megaforce Records, they helped launch a genre of music that marches on to this day. That said, the road to fame and fortune was a very rocky road, and today, Jonny Z and I discuss his path from Wall Street to jail to Metal Hall of Fame. I'm really curious, as I went through your book, what struck me first and foremost was that you had a life before you started Megaforce with Marsha. And I just wonder if you could tell us a little bit about that life. I mean, you were selling insurance and then on Wall Street, and just kind of give us a sense of what life was like before Megaforce.
Well, life wasn't very good before Megaforce. I mean, it was great that I had Marsha. You know, thank God she was there, you know?
Yeah.
But life really sucked, kind of. I basically, lived on the streets for a while, took good care of myself the best I can, ended up on Wall Street, got in trouble with the wrong people, ended up doing time, ended up dead broke, ended up opening up a flea market to make $70 a weekend to support my shopping for food because we had no money for food. After my $225 a week salary was taxed, So what can I say? Life before Megaforce and life during Megaforce for a while was the same way.
I was gonna say it was quite an up and down as I read about it. I just wondered, was like, okay, was it like, okay, this is our ticket out. We're gonna start a record label that focuses on metal music, and not just any metal music, but like metal music that isn't really in the mainstream. Was that a conscious choice, or just like, I just love this music and I want to get it out in the world? How did you decide on that?
Money had nothing to do with it. It was this crazy drive to bring it to the forefront or get the music out there. I was a major fan, in love with this music, and I just wanted it in front of everybody else. And I figured if I liked it, other people would like it. And if I don't have it, they don't have it. So let's bring it.
How did you? And so you like you said, you've gone from Wall Street to getting in trouble. You were in a halfway house.
Right.
You started the flea market. You started buying and selling records at the flea market, and then got into show promotion. Right. You started putting on some shows. You had Anvil come in, and that was started it.
The people in the store said, Johnny, could you bring us a band to maybe look at? We have this little auditorium at the side of the flea market. What do you think? And I, of course, said, sure, let's go get a band. Let's go get Anvil. Let's pay for immigration and all this other stuff that you don't know about when you want to bring a band over. It may cost you X amount, but it's X amount times 5 when you finish.
And so you start this process, and then somebody sends you a tape from San Francisco, a little band out there that nobody had heard of at the time. Tell me about that little band that you got.
Well, it was never a little band in my mind. They were always a great band with a great demo, It wasn't that someone sent it to me. It's just that somebody came into the flea market shop and physically sprung it on me. They insisted that I listen to it. I didn't want to listen to the demos. I said this a million times. I do not listen to demos unless I hear them home and they're good enough to play for the public. I'll play it in my store. But this guy was really up my ass to play it. He said, John, you're going to love it. So the store wasn't busy. I put it on. And the next thing you know, history starts shaking,
And that band at the time, that was Metallica.
No Life Till Leather was the demo.
Yeah. And so before long, they're sleeping on your floor. You've invited them out to the East Coast and started that whole process with them. Was it in your mind like, okay, now we're just going to take on bands and we're going to start promoting bands? Like, I'm still trying to follow this logic here. It's just like this, you just believed in it so much. What was your process?
But just believing it so much. It was as crazy as that. We were just insane. I think I'm crazy, man. I think I had lost my mind. And Marsha just said, go ahead, Johnny. This is it, man. You're right. Let's do this. You could do this. And, I was doing time at night during the week, and they were in my house, and Marsha had to run the shop,
And you had one kid or two kids at that time?
I had two children. One wasn't with us all the time. Was with us on every other weekend or on weekends, and one was with us all the time. I talk about it, I think, in the book, how it used to get so noisy downstairs that Cliff used to read Little Ricky, big woman now, a woman, but used to read Ricky bedtime stories, to chill her out because it was so crazy, the house. And it was very hard to concentrate and go to sleep with all the noise and music playing.
I can't imagine. So you're off at the halfway house. You're coming back. You're doing your work throughout the day. Metallica is sleeping at your house and making a racket down in the basement.
While I'm working, because they didn't get up till 5:30 in the afternoon. Just laid out all over the place. It looked like Gettysburg.
And so I'm imagining that as you're going through this process, you said you got this drive that was there. I mean, what kind of self-doubts did you have? A lot of times when I'm working with people, there's this thing like, I'm not the guy to do this. I don't know what I'm doing. Did you have those kind of thoughts as you were going through this?
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time. I didn't know what I was doing, but I did know what I was doing. I always came up with the answer. I don't know how. And if I didn't know the answer, Marsha knew the answer. And we found the money. We found the way. It's a real miracle, the story. It's a real friggin' miracle how we pulled this off. Nobody would have done it. Nobody wanted to do it. Nobody believed in it like we believed in it. It was just blind faith.
Would you go back and do it the same way now? Like knowing what you know now?
I don't know. I don't have the strength now to do what I did when I was young.
Yeah.
No, it's a different time now. I don't know. I don't know what I would do back then, but I think I would have done it the same way.
There was a story you talk about in the book, which has the famous phrase that just sticks out for me: "Nothing to it but to do it." What was that scenario where you got that phrase? Because to me, it just stuck with me as I was reading through the book. That was the golden thread.
That's cool. Well, I was really shiftless and without a direction, a complete unknown, like a Rolling Stone, and this guy sits down next to me. I forgot what I said in the book, or do I remember? But it was like 1:30 to 3:30 in the morning, kind of. And he starts sitting down, and I said he looked like Jimi Hendrix. That's what attracted me to talk to him. He sounded like Hendrix. He wasn't Hendrix. He was not. He was just the dude that was probably a junkie, that was a reverend at one time, that was preaching. And he caught me, and we started talking in the wee hours of the morning. And he whips out a card and gives me the card when I sounded like I didn't know what I was talking about and being a wise ass. And it said nothing to it but to do it. And it said Rev on the other side. It just said Rev. And I just said, whoa, whoa. I said, that's cool. And I went from that bench the next morning with purpose out into the world. I had a little bit of a kick in my stride, as they said in the streets of New York.
What did that mean to you? Because a lot of times we get stuck in a place of like, I don't know what to do. So essentially you get the message, nothing to it but to do it. Is it just give you permission to try and fail and not give a shit? Or what did that mean to you?
And of course you give a shit. You don't want to fail. But don't give up unless you really tried every little way to get through. It's like being I always say, like being a football team that can't throw a touchdown pass. But, you could get through to score a touchdown 10 yards at a time. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
You could break through that line. And that's what it had to be. 10 yards at a time. Bloody yards, by the way.
Yeah.
Bloody yards. But, man, we did it because there was no other choice. I couldn't see failure. Could you imagine to be so blind you can't see failure?
What do you mean you couldn't see failure? Like you believed in it so much at that time, like you just knew what you were doing was going to work out? Or what do you mean when you didn't see?
It was just a question of when it was going to happen. I really believed it, like you can't imagine.
And for you, in your mind, did you have a vision that Megaforce was going to be in a 10,000 square foot facility and have dozens of people working there? Or what was your vision?
That was the curse of it all.
Okay.
That was to be careful what you wish for.
How so? What do you mean?
Well, because I liked it when it was small and in my house and cozy and not so many lives at my hand that I had to pay their salaries and worry about their cars and their food and their homes and their life. And, you know, you take on a lot of responsibility with a company and it becomes more than just the music business. It becomes the people business. So it was a great place to be, Megaforce.
Hmm.
I'll just leave it at that. But I really do say be careful what you wish for because it got too big.
It sounds like there's a myth that more is more. And it sounds like there was a sweet spot in there for you where you got to just focus on, it sounds like as I was reading through the book, how much you enjoyed being a part of the creative process with your artists.
I loved it. I loved it. It was like heaven on earth. I love getting involved in the creative process with any genius. You know, sharing the mind of a genius. There's so much energy in that area.
Yeah.
I loved it, you know. That's why I love working with Al Jorgensen, you know, for ministry. You know, just to be able to be close to that mind and just see what drives it and see what makes it work and what comes out of it fresh as it's happening. Fantastic.
And so was it that the responsibilities of the organization that was Megaforce just pulled you out of that creative thing and you lost, you know, just little by little kind of lost touch with that being in the zone of your genius?
Money raising became more important than anything. How are you going to have the money to pay for this? How are you going to have the money to pay for that? I mean, it was happening at a giant level. Instead of, you know, $1,500 to spend here, it was like $150,000 or $80,000 to spend on a video or $40,000 to spend on a little video. You know, it was $20,000 on a radio campaign. Crazy numbers.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy numbers. And it just got to the point where it became like dollar signs. And not that I wanted them, but I needed them to perpetuate the whole machine.
Yeah. In during that time, as I was reading the book, there were times where I wanted to pull my hair out. It seemed so stressful. That this machine got so big, and I can't imagine what it was like working with the personalities. I was in the music industry. I know that it's not the most sane place. So, but I just can't imagine what a roller coaster it would have been like going through that process. Were there times where you just wanted to run away, or were there times like, what was your experience like in those days? Did it get dark?
Yeah, it got dark. Remember, I talk about it in the book. I'm a manic depressive. I'm a bipolar guy. And when it got dark, the lights went out.
Mm.
So I had to really work very hard at making it light and bright for myself so I didn't slip. So I worked hard, and kept myself from thinking. And that's what perpetuated this whole thing called Megaforce. It was that mega energy, man. But it was not only mine, it was the team around me. I always say that. You know, I had a group of people that were dynamic. And with us all working for a common goal, it really worked.
But it sounded like there was at least a part of it, which was, I got to keep running or else this depression, this darkness will catch up with me. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, it got me.
Mm-hmm.
It got me. I'm noticing that Telecaster up on the wall there and saying, boy, I'd like to own that.
Oh, yeah, a little 52, huh? You like it?
Sorry.
Yeah, no sweat, no sweat. Well, I'm just wondering, like, at that time, did you know that you were bipolar, or you just thought that was normal?
I didn't know really until I don't remember what year I started going for treatment, but I started many, many, many years ago, I believe, but they weren't getting it.
Hmm.
They weren't curing it. They were experimenting with drugs and making me even crazier.
Oh, that's got to be tough.
I think that during the period I sold Megaforce, I was going through trauma with bad medications and things like that. Just not really kicking in and me falling off the side.
Yeah. Let's switch gears. When you talk about this drive that you've got, like, I can't imagine being able to operate at the level that you were operating. And then to have an artist, you know, in front of you that's saying, hey, you know, we want to be on Megaforce. And I'm curious, from your perspective, what had you take on that artist? Because I imagine there were good players and people that could write some so songs, but I imagine you were looking for that X factor, that thing that just jumped out.
It's very simple. A, they had to be great. B, they had to be fresh. And C, they had to, most important, they had to make the hair stand up on my neck and my arms.
Mm.
It's unbelievable how when a band is really raging and really getting to me, how the hair just stands up in my arms. And if I get that, and I got that a few times in my life, that band usually would be on Megaforce band. It was that simple.
How much was their desire for that a part of it? Because there's a lot of folks that are they're pretty talented and they can kind of get up there and do their thing. But what if you didn't feel their drive? What if you didn't feel their desire for it?
It ended. It ended. We had bands that self-destructed. I don't want to name them. They're in the book. You could get the vibe of who they may be. But there are bands that self-destructed, and it breaks my heart. But, you know, you can't make things happen that aren't destined to happen, by the way.
Hmm.
And there are factors that are bigger than myself, and I have to bow down to those things and say, hey, man, there's nothing I could do. All the king's horses and all the king's men ain't going to put this shit together, you know?
Right.
So that's where things would die out there in the field.
Mm. I'm curious when you would go into negotiations, because that could be a place where we win the battle, but we lose the war. And it's like it's a tough business as it is, but to be able to get good deals in there, I'm curious how you approach negotiations, knowing that you were going to bump up against this A&R guy again, or you were going to talk to this executive over here again, or possibly work with this artist again. What could you tell us about that in terms of just how to relate and how to create win-win scenarios?
Well, I didn't create a lot of win-win scenarios. I created a lot of survive, what's fair in love and war scenarios. You know, I feel that what you have to realize is, what does the other guy really want here at the negotiation table? What does he got to bring back to his team that makes him look good? And give him that, but don't give him everything. But make sure he really gets something to go home with. And hopefully it won't be something that kills you.
Where did you learn that skill? I mean, I could imagine that you learned it on the streets. You learned that in you know, whether your background in Wall Street or whatever.
From the game of chess, you know, I'm not going to say I'm the best chess player, but I try to keep it 4 moves ahead at least. Some people are 7 moves ahead. I'm just 4. Mm. And those who are 7 moves ahead bury me every time. But you know what? If you could get up and walk again, God bless you. You live to fight another day.
Yeah. You know, Marsha is a key person in your life.
Oh, yeah.
Your name doesn't get mentioned without her name in there. She's just as, I'm like, where's her book? Right? That's the first question, right? So when's she going to get her book?
Her first book, she'd name it He Was Full of Shit.
That's why I want to read it.
He was full of shit, but who cares about him anyway?
Well, she was this what a role she plays in your life of like giving you this. Sounds like a really grounding force for you, but then also bringing you great talent. Sounds like she had her own ear. It's a unique partnership in the sense that you guys were married, but then also had this business arrangement. It seems incredibly rare.
We were and we are a team. It doesn't change. Working didn't change it. We couldn't wait to get up and go to the office together in the morning. Mm. You know, it would be like that. And it was all just good vibes. We had some doozy of battles. I mean, we beat the shit out of each other once in a while, you know, just over little things like, should Anthrax have keyboards on Armed and Dangerous? You know, I mean, we killed each other over that. Mm. Forget about what the band even thought. It's just that what did we think? We killed each other. And I still don't know who wanted the keyboards and who didn't.
It's just a battle.
And we just battled over it. It was about 5 hours. I remember it was brutal. And that's what it was all about. The music itself, we were so passionate.
It's amazing that you could have that much passion for the music and still have such a business going. It seems like once the business gets in there, we lose that ability to be so emotionally impacted by the music. The music becomes a commodity.
Well, remember, it's very simple in this house. You heard other men say it, but Marsha is usually right. In fact, she's always right. Let's call it straight. You know, I'm just lucky to be around, man. It's really true. My parents used to say to me, "You're lucky you found her." Oh, man.
I haven't met her, but I agree. Just from what I've read about her, she seems like that whole, it's, you know, so many people get into relationships, whether it's with a business partner or their wife, and it becomes adversarial for some reason. It's a power struggle. And I get that it's no, you know, like you're describing, it wasn't a, you know, always a smooth road, but the sense was that you guys were always allies. You guys were always on the same team.
We're always on the same team. You know, we fought for the good of the whole. But we stopped fighting after a while. It's really true, though. It wasn't worth it. Mm. It's just not worth it. And that's something to teach everybody. It's like ridiculous. You know, it's very easy to hit below the belt. You don't have to. It's unnecessary. You know, just go about your life and do what's important, you know. If you don't love your partner, don't bother.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I'm very firm about that.
It seems like we could get really hung up on these little pissing matches and winning the arguments and not have that big picture. What you're describing is that awareness of the big picture. Don't sweat the small stuff.
Don't sweat the small stuff, or only sweat the small stuff and forget about the big stuff, man.
I'm curious what made it worthwhile, because at the time, like you said, raising money was just so important. The staff, everything that had to be done. As you look back on this adventure, this whole story of Megaforce, what made it worthwhile for you? Because, like I said, we can just make it about the outcomes and the gold records on the wall and all that kind of stuff. But for you, what made it worthwhile?
It was a great accomplishment to come from where we came from, less than zero, and to have had a chance to accomplish in a time in history such great deeds. You know, if you think about it, I took a big hiatus after 2001. You know, my Kingdom at its peak was only a 20-year run, you know, but it was a great 20 years. And the Masters have now gone almost to 40 years in value. And Testament and Overkill and Anthrax and Ace, Metallica, they're all out there, you know, and they stood the test of time. And that's a good house to build. Any builder would be proud of that house. It stands the test of time, you know? So that's my little rap to you today.
Yeah, I appreciate that. There's some great stories in there. The Acid in Amsterdam was one of my particular favorites. I'll leave that to the reader to go explore that one. But I laughed my ass off as I read through that. But I want to thank you so much. I'm trying to imagine my life without Metallica, without King's X, without Anthrax, as a young person and feeling so alienated by what was on the radio and MTV. I was like, fucking somebody gets it, man. Somebody's putting out these great bands, and it was you and Marsha and I and your team. So thank you.
We were crazy, man. We remain crazy today. God bless you.
God bless you, Johnny. Much love to you and Marsha. Thank you so much, bud.
Beautiful interview, and I want that guitar.
If these interviews are helping you, then please visit The New Man on iTunes and leave us a positive review so others can discover the show more easily. Thanks for listening.